Your mom's is f***ing with our investment.
Messing with our money.
She need to be handled.
Ever since Ronnie was introduced, he's been fixated on one person, Rock. It's been fuck Rock ever since episode 1, and we're finally going to get to the point where Kanan will have a decision to make. This decision is going to be one of the biggest that not only shapes his future for raising Kanan, but also gives us some answers for why Kanan was the way he was in OG Power. Now, I previously made reference to how we're probably going to be in for a huge twist. Ever since 305 with what went down with Unique, where they completely turned the chessboard upside down, they've been building the foundations to this very episode. They've been carefully moving the chess pieces by removing Unique. They've made Kanan move closer to Ronnie and further away from Rock, the Thomases, as well as Famous. They've brought in Snaps and Pop as investors who are also team fuck Rock, or are they? That's something I'm going to break down a bit later on. But they've also been building this storyline with Marvin being watched by law enforcement, with Lou heading down a downward spiral where I think they've sent him to a rehab center. And I do think those two storylines will be important in the grand scheme of things with the aftermath. So we're going to be breaking down this storyline in a bit more detail, looking at some death predictions, parallels to Power involving Tariq's kidnapping and Kanan's in episode 10, the relationship across the chessboard, and how Rock and Kanan's interests could align to bring Ronnie down in the showdown, Snaps and Pop's role and the aftermath based on some evidence, facts and findings, and last but not least, will Unique make a return in Major Look in Raising Kanan Season 3, Episode 10.
I mean, Ronnie got his own life now. He's got his girl. It has nothing to do with me and my son, which is how I want it. Ronnie got a girl.
Now first, here's an early death predictions involving Ronnie for episode 10. Ronnie's made it clear he doesn't like people who talk too much, and had it not been for Kanan standing in his way with Famous and Paul, I think we all know what the outcome may have been. But the same also goes for Panessa. Ronnie's the kind of guy you stay away from because he's so wild and fucked up. But if you let him be and looked in the other direction, you'd be alright. Unfortunately, that's something Panessa couldn't avoid. She walked in on him and Juliana, and then she told Rock even though she didn't mean to. Now that resulted in the death of Juliana, because Rock was looking to dead the competition's business on orders from Kwan, and also because she did have an old score to settle. Fast forward to Joaquin's conversation with Ronnie. He told her that his relationship with Juliana and any other kind of relationship was done, which is going to be a big problem for Panessa. Rock told her to keep the gun off safety for good reason, because she knows the kind of guy Ronnie is, and I do expect him to put 2 and 2 together after Joaquin made it known that he knew about his relationship with Juliana. It honestly doesn't take a genius to work out with Panessa walking in and seeing Ronnie with Juliana, who was then deaded by Rock. So with it being episode 10, I would not be surprised if it did start off with a bang, with Ronnie getting rid of Panessa for talking too much.
You go into the fucking mall where we don't got no business no more. You don't need to worry about what the fuck I'm doing.
When it comes to Kanan's relationship with Ronnie, it is a bit of a weird one. We saw Ronnie watching Kanan and Famous running their operation in 303, and then approaching him in 305 because Ronnie believed he was working for Unique, which wasn't the case. However, after Unique was removed off the chessboard, we saw Ronnie bringing Kanan in on the game, as well as introducing him to his investors, Snaps and Pop, among a few other older heads. Now the reason why I believe Ronnie wanted to bring Kanan on board was for 2 particular reasons. Business was booming and he already had a system in place that he could use to get his work, so to speak, up and running. But more importantly, he was a son of Rock.
This old Rock. She the one fucking us. Rock didn't take our money, Ronnie. You did.
Ronnie's hatred for Rock really runs deep, and off-screen it seems like he's really been poisoning his mind in very similar to fashion to how the older Kanan used to do with Tariq. He told him that Rock was the one who got rid of Unique, which we all know isn't true, and that's something I will come back round to in just a moment. But Rock will find it hard to bring Kanan back on side. It really is going to be difficult to get through to him, which is mostly her fault. If you think about it, she's the one who lied and manipulated for 15 years. She says she has her reasons and one day he'll understand, but she's one of the main reasons why Kanan has turned. We only have to look at the most recent look that Famous gave Kanan in 309. Even though Kanan got Ronnie to back off and told him that Uncle Lou will be at Duke's performance, his look said it all. He looked scared, disappointed, and it was a look of someone who knew he'd lost his best friend. He knew Kanan was too far gone. This is also where we learn Kanan isn't exactly afraid of Ronnie. Ronnie's a character who likes to be feared. It's also how he leads, and it's also how he gets shit done. But the way Kanan spoke to him, it seems like he neither fears him or respects him, and that's a problem for Ronnie. He also questions Kanan's intentions when he said he was going to the mall when they had issues with their operation. And look, at the end of the day, I don't know what Ronnie expects, because Kanan is still a teenager and he was still going to be there for Duke. He's also not got the mindset of Ronnie at this moment in time, who's all about that work. So having said that, will there be a moment in episode 10 that aligns Kanan and Rock? I think there will be, which is why I do think we are in for a twist, which may or may not involve these two particular moments, Kanan being kidnapped and the attempt on Rock's life. Ty was the one who was with Ronnie who made it clear he wasn't afraid to light it up when they were boxed in by the Colombians. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a move that is made by Ronnie and his crew, with Ty leading. The same also goes for Kanan being kidnapped. The questions I previously asked around this was, who was kidnapping Kanan? Was it Rock or is it set up by Ronnie? And I think the graffiti on the white van gives it away. It probably is most likely Ronnie. Now where these two moments come into the story along with Rock meeting Snaps and Pop, we don't actually know yet. However, I have made it known how a young Tariq and a young Kanan story is beginning to mirror each other. We've gone through a lot of parallels this season, which helps us understand why Kanan took a liking to a young Tariq, and I think the situation could be another. So let's just take it back to power for a moment. Tariq was a very smart kid just like Kanan was. He also had trust issues with his parents because he felt as if they lied to him. Again, very similar to Kanan. But we also saw him set up a kidnapping from Vincent Ragni and the Italians to extort Ghost for 2 million. A kidnapping that in the end went sideways. So having said that, could we see something similar in episode 10? Could this be a setup by Kanan which lures Rock to this warehouse? Because Rock doesn't seem like she's dressed in an all black leather outfit with a silencer on her gun, ready like she should be. So to me, it does seem like she's kind of caught off guard in this situation. But I stand with my original thoughts around how this eventually will go down between the three. I do think Kanan will pick Rock in the end and turn on Ronnie. Now what makes Kanan turn on Ronnie is where we enter unknown territory, because at this moment in time, based on what he said in 309, he trusts Ronnie more than he does his mother. So what actually makes him turn, we don't actually know. Will Rock finally open up to him and tell him some truths about the past, and maybe about who Ronnie actually is? Who knows? Will Kanan learn about Ronnie lying to him in similar fashion to how Jukebox made Kanan tell Tariq? Again, I do think there are a lot of parallels to consider, but either way, I do think Kanan will turn and pick his mother over Ronnie Mathis. Now I did mention at the start, the other two Thomas siblings will have an influence in some shape or form about what happens going forward. With Lou, I think he's been dropped off to a rehab center. With Marvin, I really think there's a high chance that he could be arrested by Agent Tanner and thrown inside, which could also potentially push Duke into joining the military. So where does that leave Rock without her two brothers and without Duke? It leaves her having to lean on Kanan and maybe bringing Kanan on board under her wing, helping her run her operation. So that's just a thought. We also have to factor in Snaps and Pops' investment, because if they dead Ronnie, there's still a debt that does need to be paid. Or will Rock strike a deal with Snaps and Pop? I personally feel Rock will strike a deal with them to get rid of Ronnie and also get Kanan back under her wing, although at what cost? You know, we all know nothing is free in this game, so I do think we'll see Rock working with Snaps and Pop in season 4. Now over to a storyline which I really didn't think we would be discussing, but the fact that no body has been found, and with the episode 10 title being Made You Look, is Unique another? Have they been laying the foundation for him to come back?
Until that body shows up, he ain't dead.
I really don't think this can be ignored. I think it's been mentioned around 4 or 5 times that Unique's body hasn't been found since episode 5, and I do think if there is any funny business, we are going to learn about it in episode 10. Whether he could come back and have a hand in Ronnie's demise, or whether we just see him very similar to how we saw Kanan at the beginning of season 3 or Power, let's wait and see. But I do think we just need to be mindful. This really could end up being a big reveal. So with that being said, that's a breakdown of where we are at this moment in time involving the story with Kanan, Rock, Ronnie, and also Unique. I do think Made You Look will be a theme that runs across episode 10, with Kanan making a move on Ronnie instead of Rock. But could this also involve Unique? Drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.